Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. And in studio with me this evening is a phenomenal woman that I had the pleasure of connecting with through a mutual friend of ours. She is a wife, she is a mom, she's an author, but most importantly, she's a woman of God. And she's taken time out of her very busy schedule to hang out with us this evening to share a little bit of her story with the hopes of encouraging and inspiring and uplifting others, especially when it comes to dealing with the challenges and struggles of life that we all go through in some fashion or form. So, with that said, it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest this evening, Miss Frankie Cathcart. Frankie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, before we jump into our segments, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit of something about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, kind of give our audience a taste of who is Frankie Cathcart.
Like you said, I am a wife. Been married now almost 27 years. Been with my husband a little over 30. We met at college. And I'm originally from Virginia, little country place called Cascade. Um, I live now in North Carolina, and I love our home and our family. I'm an accountant, so I work with numbers. I get a lot of screen time because of that. I like to volunteer in the community, volunteer at a few places around town, and serve in ministry. And
That
now
is
I'm an author.
that is awesome. That is awesome. Awesome. I love that. Love that. I also work with numbers, so I understand the screen time and all of that good stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little hard on the eyes after the end of the day, but hey, it's what we do. So, but again, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm super excited to hear your story, and so I'm gonna get on out of the way, and we're just gonna go ahead and jump right on into this and find out a little bit more about you. So Frankie, anytime I bring people on the show, the many guests that I've had over the years, I always feel like it's important to take an opportunity to take a look back, if you will, about where the beginnings of our story start, because I truly do believe that although we are where we are in life right now, there's some things that happened earlier on in life, as far back as childhood, whether it's events that took place in our life, people that we met, things of that nature that maybe during that time we didn't really make, any kind of connection with it, didn't think much of it. We're just kind of kids just doing life, growing up, having fun, doing whatever that is.
Mhm.
But the reality is that as you, get over it, get along in life and get a little bit older and start to, more importantly, start to understand what your purpose is, uh, you kind of reflect back on some of those moments, and it's almost like a light bulb comes on, and you say, you know what? That's why I had to go through what I went through. This is why I met that person when I met that person, and things of that nature. So that's why I think it's so critical to take a moment to reflect back on that. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. If you would
Mhm.
share with us, what was it like for you growing up? Fond memories you have about growing up, as well as if there's any particular challenges come to mind, you can share those as well. Just kind of give us a backdrop of where your story begins.
Okay. So I guess I'll go back to my younger years, where I grew up, like I said, in a little country place. Um, my mom and dad, who are both deceased now, um, they divorced when I was fairly young, and I would say under five. And that means, kind of being shuffled back and forth between moms and dads. Um, but that gave me a great opportunity to spend time with extended family in between. So, grandparents and aunties, and, travel a little back and forth. Um, so I enjoyed the country living. My older sister, she loved the homemaking, the girly stuff. Well, Frankie was more of a tomboy. I like to be outside with my papa or my dad mowing grass or driving the tractor or just getting into stuff really, just exploring. So I have three grown children, and my younger son, we call him Adventure Boy because he sounds a lot like what I used to do, just like to adventure.
Wow.
But so that's a summary of kind of like growing up in my younger years, and then as I got a little older, um, I primarily stayed with mom, and mom moved around a bit. So I went to different schools and met different people, but always still called home, my grandparents' place in the country. So, and I would say out of that experience, just um, being a child, just kind of split between two homes where, because my parents were young too when they split, of course, they found someone and started new families too. So that, you know, being in that situation, you just kind of, I felt like, it was hard to kind of fit in, to know where I fit in, you know. So that was a challenge kind of growing up, but I still have many fond memories of, being both places, and then some that are pretty tough. But yeah, that's kind of a summary of growing up.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
again, let me first start off by saying I appreciate you sharing that with us. I can't imagine what that must have been like. Being a young child and your parents splitting up, and then like you said, your parents were already young as it is, and kind of the bouncing around back and forth. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you, and just again that absence of stability, if you will. But at the same time, the reality is that understanding how God works, even in dire situations such as this, it's clear that He had a purpose on your life because He made sure, as you stated, that the extended family was there to kind of kick in and be of
That's right.
support to you and look out for you. You didn't have to worry about being sent off somewhere to foster care or anything like that. You had family members that stepped up in those situations and took care of things and put you on the path to what you needed to be on, in order to get to where you are now. I mean, just the fact that you shared earlier at the beginning of the broadcast, one of the great works that you do is your ministry. Well, anybody who understands what it means to be in ministry, regardless of what lane in ministry that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
part of that sign up fee, if you will, is that you have to kind of gone through some stuff. It makes you relatable. It allows you to be able to connect with people who are hurting, people who are needing to be encouraged, to be uplifted, to be inspired. And so it's just kind of hard to do that just being a person who can just rah people along, but actually having some real life experiences that people can connect with and identify with, and who
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately there are a lot of young people, who, or I should say, a lot of people who at a young age saw their parents split, or perhaps were in situations where they grew up in single parent homes and things of that nature, and none of which is ever easy. But at the same time, if you have the right circle of people around you and that support network and love and etc., you can get through that. And of course, ultimately, if God is in the mix, as we know, He can be. Um, Definitely, there's nothing to worry about or fear. But again, as a child at that time, I'm sure you weren't necessarily making those connections then. But in the work that you do today and the things that you're involved in now, it begins to make sense, which is why I like to take the time to
Mm-hmm.
do this. I even found that your title of your book interesting, in which I wanted to make sure that we incorporated it in our broadcast, is even digging deeper, 'cause this is what digging deeper starts with, is kind of going down to those places, to those some of those dark places, some of those places that don't feel so good to visit, but they're necessary for the growth process. They're
Right.
necessary for
Right.
us to, it doesn't mean that we have to, be okay with everything that took place or happened to us or what have
Right.
you. But we do have to acknowledge that there's a purpose in it, that it just didn't happen by chance, and it was necessary to formulate you into becoming, in your case, into the woman that you've become, the wife, the mom, the author, and the one walking in ministry.
Mhm.
all of that can't be possible without some of these things, without us taking the time to dig a little deeper, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
again, I appreciate you sharing that. So Frankie, as I'm sure you are aware, we have our childhoods. There's some good things that we remember about them, some things that might have been challenging, and of course, that doesn't change as we go into our adulthood years. We meet new people, we encounter new experiences, some good, some not so great. And but the reality is that at some point in life, if you live long enough, there's going to be a point in life where you find yourself faced with a challenge that hits a little different.
Mhm.
Perhaps hits in a way that you might question. How am I going to get through this? Even if you're somebody who's been used to navigating your way through tough times and always figuring stuff out, everybody has that moment where you
Mhm.
know my money can't fix this. I
Mhm.
can't pick up the phone and call somebody to make this go away. My degrees, my titles, my accolades, none of that works. It's just me and this storm that I'm up against, and I don't know what to do with that.
Mhm.
And you can feel a sense of hopelessness, helplessness.
Mhm.
Your faith can be challenged. You could just bottom line feel some kind of way about it all and just wonder, what did I do to deserve this? Or perhaps could be
Mhm.
lingering on something that you did do and thinking that this is a punishment of some sort that you're up against.
Mhm.
So, with that said, if you would, tell us about a time that that's exactly how you were feeling, that you were facing a challenge that seemed insurmountable, something that you couldn't overcome, but it was you and this challenge, and something had to give. Obviously, you're here today, so we can trust and believe that God worked it out, but maybe back then you weren't so
Mhm.
sure. So, if you would tell us, what was that situation like for you, and what was ultimately the turning point when you began to see some light at the end of the tunnel and kind of coming up out of that?
So Joseph, I would say one of the most challenging moments in my life, where it felt there was kind of a fork in the road, was actually whether or not I would surrender to Christ. Um, I remember I was in my 20s. By this time, my husband and I are married. We have a home, we have friends, we have a child that we're trying to raise, and we're trying not to kill each other in marriage because uh, because we really were not walking in Christ. So going back to childhood, I had aunties and grandparents that would take me to church with them, but mom and dad were not really big in faith or at least expressing it or teaching it to us as children when we were younger. Um, Thankfully, as they aged, I saw my dad surrender his life to Christ before he passed. And, but that was after me. So
Mm,
growing up and not really having someone really share with me Christ, it was just different. So, anyways, I got to the point to where we were kind of just going through life, and I was feeling like there was a huge void, like something was really missing, and I couldn't really put my finger on what it was. I was like, yeah, we're having fun, we're doing what we want to do, but something is just really missing. And so I looked at my husband one day and I just said, honey, why aren't we going to church? And so I think I had asked him several times before then, let's go. And it just wasn't happening. But then in this moment, he said, you're right. We need to go. And I was just at a complete point of I needed to surrender. Um, I wasn't comfortable. I was very uncomfortable with the way we were doing life. And I needed some things to change. And so we went to church. We got saved. The Lord saved us. And, we started growing closer and closer to Him. And that was my turning point. And the challenge was really not feeling like I said, even at growing up as an adult, if you're going through life as a child and you're not feeling like you really measure up, like I don't fit in with this new family over here, moms don't feel fit in with this new family here at dad's. It's just feeling like you just don't fit in and you don't measure up. And so surrendering to Christ helped me to begin to heal from that, to because I realized, I needed to fit in with him. That's
Hmm.
where I was going to find my peace. That's where I found some hope. And even, I feel like it made a turn in our marriage, because now we're trusting and depending on God to help us to learn how to love each other and to care for each other. Um, so in a nutshell, I would say it's my whole point of just surrender. And in this, particular book, one of the very first things that God dealt with me about was forgiveness. So I had to really look back over, like you said, in those dark places and forgive those that I felt like maybe didn't do what they could have done. And a lot of that was me, because we make choices. So I made a lot of choices, to live how I wanted to live and do what I wanted to do. I made those choices. So even in coming to God, I had to find a way to forgive myself and move on after asking him and receiving his forgiveness. So that was one of the biggest challenges for me, was actually just coming to the point of surrender and realizing that I need help. I can't do this life without God.
Wow, wow. Let me first again thank you for sharing so vulnerably about this. I think what you said is something that applies to a lot of people, whether they realize it or not. I mean, as you were sharing your story, I was thinking about myself and the challenges of life going through and ultimately leading up to, surrendering my life to Christ. And I know again, as I'm sure some of my listeners feel the same way about that whole mode of not fitting in.
Mm,
And a lot of times, however, when we talk about not fitting in, we have a tendency before we give ourselves to Christ, before we know who Christ is and understand Him for how He operates, we tend to associate the not fitting in using what I would call using kind of the worldly terms.
mhm,
So
mhm.
so in other words, for some of us, fitting in means I gotta upgrade the wardrobe to fit in, or I gotta be driving a certain car, or I gotta live in a certain house to fit in, or maybe I have to come alongside somebody who I've identified perhaps as being in need, and in essence, I put myself and I've been guilty of this, put myself in a rescue mode. I'm gonna fix them. I'm a clean up their situation. It's
Mm,
almost like I'm thirsting, if you will, for somebody to need me, to make me
mhm,
feel accepted in whatever that situation is.
mm.
And to your point, you get to a moment in life where you've tried this, you've tried that, you've tried
Yes.
everything, but yet there's still this void. It's like I've eaten
Mhm.
and I've eaten and I've drank and I've drank, but why am I still hungry? Why am I still thirsty? Like it's something that's missing. And so to my listeners, I want you to understand that the something that we're talking about here is God's presence in your life. That
Yes.
and but
Mhm.
it takes a minute. It takes a minute for you to set aside all the stuff that I have, like you talked about, all the fun
Mhm.
that we've had. I was married, I was having fun, I was doing my thing, but just
Mhm.
something just still didn't. And it's crazy because on the outside looking in, you'll be thinking like, well, if you had what appears to be everything that you felt like you needed to have and was doing everything that you wanted to do, why are you
Mhm.
complaining? What do you mean you're missing something? And it's sometimes it can be hard to put into words, but the reality is that when God has an anointing on your life and He's
Mhm.
trying to
Mhm.
guide you into what your walk is supposed to be and what your purpose
Yes.
is supposed to be, it's His way of grabbing your attention, that kind of keeping that hunger, if you will, inside of you, to ultimately, not to force you into it, but to ultimately make you come to a decision where, you know what, I gotta do something different, and it's
Yeah.
not what I've been doing. And so you eventually had that moment where the light bulb clicks in and say, you know what, it's bigger than the worldly stuff. This is a God thing that I'm missing. This is what
Yeah.
the gap is here.
Hmm.
This is what I need to fill in that space that currently can't be filled by anything else.
Do you
And
know,
yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say, no, I don't know about you, but what I kept saying to myself, I was like, there just has to be more to life than this.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, none of this stuff that we're doing, you know, the drinking, the smoking, the partying, the house parties, none of this stuff is like fulfilling. None of it lasts. It's like something is missing, and
Hmm.
it's just got to be more than this.
Right.
And that's what I was hungering for. That's what I was thirsting for. And I thank God that He gave me that hunger and that thirst. My only regret, of course, was, God, I wish I knew you sooner.
Hmm.
I wish I knew you sooner. But of course, I have this thing that I say, and it's everything is in God's timing. It
Yes.
truly is in His timing. You know, um, I have a strong, strong love and desire to see people saved. And if I hadn't gone maybe 27 years without really knowing God and having a chance to really love Him and seek after Him for that long, I may not have had, this burning desire to see people saved and to see people just set free and to walk in the freedom of salvation. If I hadn't had such a
Hmm.
long period without Him.
And it's so interesting when we talk about that hunger, that thirst moment, because you have some people on one end who
Mm-hmm.
will say, I wish I had access to this, that, or the other, and they feel empty because of what they don't have. Well, just
Mm-hmm.
imagine, it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole different feeling when, again, per the worldly scale, per the worldly terms, when you
Mm-hmm.
have what seems to be everything, but you still feel like you're empty. Like that's the craziest feeling to go through, when it's like,
Yes.
I have everything, I'm doing everything, I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing everything that I want,
Mm-hmm.
but yet I feel like I have nothing. I feel like I'm still short. Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Is it greed? Is it ego? Is it, what is this? And it's none of those things. It's just
Mm-mm.
you're missing the key component, the core of it all is
Right,
what you're
right.
missing. And in this case, the core is Christ. That's what you were missing. You were
That's right.
missing Him as being an active part of your life. And to my
Mm-hmm.
listeners, please don't take this. One thing I do want to say is, even to believers, we're not in any way suggesting that believers can't have a good time, that we
Right,
can't
right,
have, that you can't hang out with friends and have good wholesome fun and things of that
right,
nature.
right.
Obviously we don't want to get caught up in things that could be detrimental to us,
Exactly.
but the general idea of fun, enjoyment, good times, and laughter and all of that, as a believer you can do all of those things and do it within the right lane of how God would want you to do it. He
That's
just is saying to us, look, I just got to, I'm asking, the only ask I have is that you make me first in this.
right. Yeah,
That I'm the center of it all, that I'm your go-to for this.
yeah.
Versus you putting me in the back doing your thing and
Right.
then getting with me when it's convenient to get with me.
Yes.
Which is sometimes what we tend to do, especially if
Yeah.
we've been blessed to get some of the things, some of the accomplishments, some of the fun and excitement of stuff that we wanted
Mm-hmm.
to do. Sometimes we get so caught up into that we forget who made it
Yeah.
all possible.
Mm-hmm.
We find ourselves only turning to Him when we in a jam, in a fix, in a tight. Then we want to,
Yes.
oh Lord, Lord, help me, help me. And then he bails us out of another situation that we promised we was never gonna get in the last time, the time before that, and then we go right back to forgetting Him all over again. So
Right.
sometimes, again, playing off the title of your book, we talk about digging deeper, but sometimes He has to allow us to dig deeper, not only within ourselves, but I would even argue to say that sometimes He has to let us dig deeper in terms of digging a hole for ourselves. Sometimes we got to dig that hole
Yes.
and see what it's like. And he's there, he's watching. He's
He's
not gonna make sure that the
there.
hole is gonna consume us. But sometimes,
Right.
it's kind of like, my mom used to, sometimes say, sometimes you gotta let sometimes I gotta let you bump that head. Sometimes I gotta let you. In this case, sometimes we gotta let you dig that hole. Keep on digging it, and then
Keep
when you
on
get
doing
tired of
it.
digging it,
Right.
then let me know when you're ready. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty about who God is, because he's not leaving you. He's not forsaking you. He's not
Right.
turning his back on you. He's like, okay, clearly you're not listening to me. Clearly
Right.
you doing your own thing. So I'm gonna let you go
Hmm.
keep on digging that keep digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually you're gonna realize that this this is not working for you. This
Right.
something, and then when you're ready, guess what? He's gonna extend his hand out to you, pull you up out of that hole, dust you off, and let you know this
Yes.
is what you need to do moving forward, so you don't have to go back into that deep hole no more. But even in that deep hole moment, even in that dark moment that you're in, I'm gonna take that moment and allow you to be a blessing to somebody else. Because part of this
Mm.
whole journey was you being in that hole. This wasn't just me, getting a kick out of seeing you be in a jam or tight or fix. This
Right.
is all a purpose. It's all a part
Hmm.
of the process, so that when you are ready, when you are equipped to walk in your purpose the way that I've created you specifically to walk in,
Hmm.
you're going to be able to draw back on those same experiences, and people are going to instantly be able to identify with it, because they're either going through it currently, or they're trying to struggle to pull up out of it, and you're going to be the difference maker. You're going to be my vessel that I talk through, that I work through to help them come up out. You just said
Right.
a few moments ago about how you love, how you're passionate about leading people to Christ.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
that's not something that people just wake up loving to do. You have to have something to draw from. You have to have some kind of empathy, some understanding. I know, my brother, I know, my sister, what that hole looks like. I know what that
Hmm.
empty void feels and looks like. I'm not trying to
Yes.
say that my experience is your experience, but I've been in that situation before.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
want to impart what I've gone through and what I've done and how I've been delivered. And hopefully, prayerfully, if I just share a snippet of that with you,
Hmm.
that is the difference maker. Just like we talked about before the show started, about how it's so important for moments like this, for platforms like this, and others that are similar to this, where anytime you get an opportunity to share just even a spit of your story,
Hmm.
how impactful it can be to somebody else, game changing, life changing. And so, again, I appreciate you sharing that,
Yes.
because it's very, very relatable about that not fitting in. And like you said,
Hmm.
I love the fact that you even tied in the forgiveness piece as well, because sometimes that not fitting in moments that we've had over the course of our lives can leave us feeling a little bitter, feeling some kind of
Yes.
way, feeling
Hmm.
like, feeling like somebody could have stepped in or stepped up and made it a little bit easier for me, made that transition a little bit more comfortable for me, but you left me out there. And I may not have said anything directly to you about it, but it hurt my spirit. It made me
Hmm.
feel, like an outsider in a situation where I felt like I should have been included, a part of.
Hmm.
So moments like that, understand, and this is the beauty again of connecting to Christ, because a big component of our healing process, it begins with the forgiveness, because you're
Hmm.
willing
That's
to,
right.
again, not even necessarily, again, not about forgetting the wrong that somebody may have done to
Hmm.
you or against you, but allowing yourself to not let that weigh you down for
Hmm.
years and years and years. Something that happened maybe as far back as childhood is pressing somebody right now in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even, that
Hmm.
they have not healed from, all because they haven't taken the first step to either, whether it's be forgiving others, or even more importantly, usually sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself.
That's right.
Just to take the
That's
time to
right.
say,
Hmm.
it's okay. I messed up, and I can
Right.
forgive myself. That's
Hmm.
not that's not me justifying whatever wrong I did, or infraction that I made or whatever. But I don't have to beat myself up. If
Right.
if if God is not beating me up over it, then
Right.
why am I beating myself up? If He's saying I'm good, I've forgiven you, then why am I
Right. Right.
continuously tearing myself down, beating myself down, thinking of myself as being less than because I've fallen short? Because last time I checked, in my Bible, in your Bible, we all fall short. We all
We do.
have,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
So I mean, it's just you're not the only one. And again,
Right.
moments like this is important because it's a reminder, and preferably to anybody that's tuning in,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
not the only one.
You're
It's
not
not just
alone.
you.
Mm-mm. You
It's
are
not.
not
I know we
alone.
might look. I know we might look nice and polished up and all that. We got our hair sitting right and all that. But trust, we done been through some stuff too. You're
That's right.
not alone. You're
That's
not
right.
alone, and you're not set apart in a way that you can't be forgiven. You're not
That's
left.
right.
You're not forgotten about that. God can't, share love upon you as He's done with us, as He's done with so many others. It's
That's right.
you don't have to exclude yourself from that. So
Mm-hmm.
again, appreciate you sharing that. Very
That's
very
right.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Frankie, again, we go through our challenges and things like that. Sometimes it's major, astronomical type things, and sometimes life is just life. And we're
Right.
dealing with a nuance, a flat tire, somebody got on your nerves at work today. It could be just the most random of things that happen. That said, what I am curious to know from you is when you do find yourself going through challenging times, again, whether it's the major stuff or just life, and minor type nuances, what is it that you particularly like to do that's kind of your regiment, your routine that just kind of helps you focus and process, keeping a steady head, if you will, as you work through whatever that challenge is? What does that look like for you in those type of moments?
That looks like for me, that looks like prayer. It looks like worshiping. It looks like forgiving quickly. My bishop now used to be my pastor. Um, he taught us so fervently, forgive quickly. Don't hold on to grudges, because holding on to unforgiveness can be like you drinking the poison and expecting the other person, to die. And so, whatever the circumstance may be, and sometimes I think I'm doing it pretty easily now. It's kind of scary sometimes because I'm like, somebody messing with me, and all of a sudden, that's all right. Because, what I'm learning is God has a way with dealing with people. He really does. If you can just sit back, if you can just calm down, He has a way of settling things and really fighting our battles. I know it sounds cliche, but it's just true. So I walk in forgiveness over and over again because sometimes you might have to wake up the next day and forgive the same thing again. I don't know about you, but Frankie does
Mm-hmm.
have to do that, and that could go on for a while.
Right.
So for me, that looks like prayer. It looks like forgiveness. It looks like worship. Worship is a place of safety for me. No one has ever walked in your shoes. They don't know what you really experienced. And even the things that, I can't even talk about on this podcast. It's just too tough. It's too hard, that those some of those dark places. But in my worship, there's a release there. There's a place of safety. There's a special connection between me and my Heavenly Father that, because I know He knows all things. And so the place of worship is really special to me. And I encourage anybody else who's having a hard time dealing with challenges, you know, worship. I can't say it enough. I can be unsettled. I could feel like God, this is big and I don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can just settle myself and just get into a place of worship, I can get through it. I can grow through it because I feel like if I have that connection, that constant communion with Christ, then in prayer and just talking to Him and listening for His voice, walking in forgiveness, and just trusting and depending on Him and not man, and worshiping Him, I just find that I can get through the challenges of life. Even just thinking about doing this interview, my nerves, but as we started and we're having a little technical difficulties, I turned on the worship because I was reminded, just worship, in the middle of while you're waiting on this. just worship me. So, Joseph, that's how I get through my challenging times.
I love that. Love that. And I love the emphasis on worship,
Mm-hmm.
because you associate it with, like you said, safe space, and you
Mm-hmm.
associate it with an opportunity to release. And
Mm.
and I think that that's so critical when we're talking about dealing with challenging times. Like you said, before I can begin to clear my head and focus and lock in on what are my next steps to get through whatever that challenge is that I'm
Mm-hmm.
up against, I got to have a moment of calm down. I got to
Yes.
have a moment of take a deep breath,
Yes.
and I get it.
Mhm.
Everybody that's tuning in may not be at the point that their release is quote unquote worship, but there's
Mm.
other ways that you can release and do it in a healthy manner. For some people, it
Mhm.
might just be I need to go take a walk.
Mm.
Somebody else, it may be I need to punch a bag.
Yes.
I might need to. Somebody else, it might just mean that you just need to go somewhere where you could just scream at the top of your voice to just get it out.
Yes.
Somebody else may need to just cry it out. But
Mm.
whatever it is, let it out, release it from
Mm.
you.
Mhm.
So then, now that you are, in essence, cleansed, you're in essence purged of that initial frustration, that initial fear, that initial worry. Now
Yes.
you're in a position to have the conversation. In this case, we're talking about having that conversation with God and saying, okay, this is what's going on. Of course, He already knows, but you're able to verbalize it,
Mm.
in a calm, cool manner. But not only saying it, not only verbalizing it, but now because you've purged, you also have an opportunity to hear what
Yes.
He has to say on how to
Exactly.
proceed. Because if I just
Mhm.
go to Him all hyped up and been out of shape, and Lord, I can't believe such and such talked to me like that, did this, that, da, 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 da. They got me messed up, and all, we going through all of that, and we still hyped up after we didn't say it, everything we said. How are we expecting to hear from Him on how to handle
Mm.
that? And also
Mm.
being able to just lock in on trusting that whatever it is that He says to us, that we can accept that as being the right
Mm.
move to make. Because sometimes the response that God has for us, especially during those difficult, challenging times, you might be waiting for this step by step, blow by blow, detailed outline of actions to take, and His response may just simply be still.
That's
It
right.
may be say nothing,
That's right.
just fall back. And
And
sometimes
let
that's hard for us
it's
to
it's
to,
very hard.
to embrace.
Yes.
But if we're trusting Him and understanding that He knows
Mhm.
everything and He's never
Mhm.
going to steer us wrong, then even if that's the response, then we can be okay with that. Sometimes it may not even be a response at all,
Mm.
and the lack of a response might just be so you can just calm down and just relax. And if you
Amen.
just relax long enough, you're gonna forget in an hour what you was even mad about. That just reminding you that it wasn't even that big of a deal. You was just
Mm.
caught up in a moment. You just got locked into a zone, if you will, of frustration or whatever. Because
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
because sometimes we have days like that. That just
Yes.
stuff is just hadn't been flowing right the way that it need to, and
Mhm.
then just this one little random moment sets us off. It was really the random moment was nothing, but
Mhm.
today it set me off because of the 10 other
Yeah.
things that happened today that was just
Right. Right.
building, 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 building. And what we need right now is just a pause. Just to
Mm.
sit back, just to chill, just to settle down.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
there's no harm in you
Mhm.
being frustrated or anything like that when you're going through a difficult time. It only becomes harmful, it only becomes dangerous when you stay stuck there.
Mm.
That's when it becomes problematic, when you allow it to fester. As you said, I love when you talked about I've had to learn how to forgive quickly. So I
Mhm.
can't I
Yes.
can't allow it to
Mhm.
build up because the enemy wants you to hold on to that.
Right.
He wants
Right.
you to
Right.
keep replaying it over and over, and every time you
Yes.
replay it, you get madder and madder. They
Yes.
got me messed. I'm Frankie Cathcart. I don't know who they think they talking to, but I don't know who they talking to. I ain't always been saved. I don't know who. We go through those moments, and that's just real,
Yes.
real talk. But
Real talk. Yeah.
at the end of the day, through maturity, and more importantly, maturity in Christ, We
Yes.
understand that a lot of what we felt like was a big deal really wasn't as much of a big deal as we thought it
Hmm.
was. And the way that we need to respond oftentimes is not our first knee jerk reaction, but more so
Right.
a more strategic, a more subtle, a more Christ like approach to it. You know,
Yes.
it keeps your peace of mind and well being intact. And it's also an opportunity to show whoever might be the one who offended you, who may have been the one that did whatever or said whatever to you. You by default, you could be blessing them in just
Right.
how you responded to what
Hmm.
was otherwise an adversarial moment. So you don't know how God is going to move and work that situation. And so you just got to be ready to receive it. You just got to be ready to embrace it when it comes. But you can't do that without him being in the mix of it all. If you're just trying to fix it
Exactly.
all yourself, then it becomes a very challenging uphill battle for you every time you go through a challenging time, especially when it elevates to the big stuff. You know,
Yes, that's right.
so
You
yeah.
know, Joseph, my grandfather lived to be 90 some years old. And before he passed, he and my grandmother were married over 60 years. And I remember asking him, because I love to talk to my elders because they have so much wisdom to impart to us if we will just listen. And so I asked him, I said, well, Papa, what's the secret to marriage? I said, y'all been married so long. What's your secret? And he said, I learned to shut up. I said, okay, I hear you. Because in that is just is sometimes I feel like that's what God is just saying for us to do. Just be quiet. And sometimes it is to do nothing, not to have this big old reaction, but to just be quiet and let work it out. Because, like you said, in that hour that you could have that silence, he could be working things out, touching the heart of the person that's offended you. If you just give him time to work things out in his timing, it usually turns out to just be such a beautiful thing. I just say it that
Right.
way. Much
You're
more
absolutely
beautiful,
right.
much more beautiful than what happens when we just go off, and do our own thing and just handle things ourselves. If we could just wait on him, and it is one of the hardest things to do, but if we can just wait on his timing, it does work out a lot better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're so right on that. So right. Um, so Frankie, if you had the opportunity to
Hmm.
sit across the table from younger Frankie, from pre-saved Frankie, from the Frankie who
Hmm.
thought, that all of the that life was putting before you and the experiences that you had and the things that you were able to acquire and achieve that was enough, but there was still that void missing. If you knowing what you know now, if you could share with her, if you could impart with her some words of wisdom, what do you wish that she would have known then when Frankie felt like she didn't fit in and actually saw not fitting in as a problem? Because just as a sidebar to our listeners,
Hmm.
when
Yeah.
you're called by God, guess what comes with that? You don't fit in. You are a
Right.
little. It's a good thing that you're not like everybody else. That's
That's
not a
right.
that's not a negative. It's a reason
Hmm.
why you don't naturally lock in and connect with certain crowds and certain
Hmm.
spaces and certain activities that are going on. It's not because you're so highfalutin and better than everybody. It's just you were purposed to do different things, and
Hmm.
it
Right.
doesn't line up.
Hmm.
So, but younger Frankie didn't know that. So, if you had a chance to speak to younger Frankie and some things that you wish she would have known that you know today, as well as to anybody that's listening that might be in that
Hmm.
moment right now, I don't feel like I fit in. I don't know where my place is. I don't understand. How do I even begin to find out what God created me to be, what my walk is supposed to be, what my purpose is supposed to be? What words would you have for younger Frankie? What words would you have for our listeners?
Hmm. For younger Frankie, I would be encouraging her in the Lord. Um, I would be letting her know how much she is loved. I would let her know that God created you in his perfect wisdom, and in his image and in his likeness for his glory. Um, I would let her know that, his angels encamp around you, Frankie, and protect you and are shielding you. Um, and I would let her know that there is hope. There is more to life than what you're seeing and experiencing right now. Um, there is a creator that wants you to know him. And if you would just seek him, you will find him. And there is no greater gift than his love and his salvation. And there's great joy in it. I would tell her that God's grace is sufficient. Oh, his power is perfect in our weaknesses. Everywhere that you have a weakness, may God's power just rest upon you because he just loves you and he's just awesome like that. um, I would encourage her to not to give up, not to give up, but to keep going through life, growing through life, and to know that there is victory in life. You don't have to walk and be afraid. Um, I would encourage her to have better relationships, to love better, to love people better, and to receive love from other people better. um, I think that is a good start, Joseph, and what I would say to little Frankie. Um, I think I would also encourage her that there is absolutely nothing that you could have done that God can't forgive. He says that he wants to wipe away, the tears from our eyes. He wants to wash away our sins from our lives. He wants to forget them as far as the east is from the west. He wants to wipe it all away and give you a fresh start. And so don't be afraid to receive that fresh start. That's what I would tell her.
I love that. Love that. I think that's great advice for younger Frankie. I think that's great advice for any of our listeners, male or
Mhm.
female, who identify with um, what younger Frankie was up against, how younger Frankie was feeling during that time, and like I said, that whole I don't fit in. I feel like an
Mhm.
outsider. I don't feel, I'm not acknowledging what my value or my worth is. I don't even know
Mhm.
what it looks like.
Mhm.
These are all empowering, powerful messages that you shared, and I think that are necessary, that could be applied really instantaneously, like right now. If that's
Mhm.
to any of our
Mhm.
listeners who are looking for those first steps,
Mhm.
um, Frankie laid them out for you. These are
Mhm.
some very easy first steps that you could start with. It's just just loving you and understanding that
Mhm.
you, like you said, that there's nothing that you could have done so horribly wrong, so bad. Um, you said it best. You are entitled. You can be blessed with a fresh start.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
okay. It's
Mhm.
okay. We've
Mhm.
all messed up. We've all fallen off the wagon. We've all tripped up,
Mhm.
slipped up, you know, made that promise 10 times over that we would never do it again and did it again the next day. Whatever. We've all been there and done that.
Yes. Mhm.
But we serve a God that is so loving, so forgiving, so thoughtful, so caring. And like I said,
Mhm.
nothing is too big. Nothing is too big for him
Yes.
to take off of you and not only get you through it, but then like I said, take parts of some of the most darkest and difficult times of your life and use it as a
Mhm.
blessing for both you and
Mhm.
for other people that he connects you with.
Yes.
So it's definitely possible. So definitely embrace those new beginnings, those fresh
Mhm.
starts. It can happen right now. It's not too late. As long as you
That's
have
right.
breath in your body,
Hmm.
um, it's not too late. So, again, I
Amen.
appreciate you sharing that. Definitely, definitely. So, Frankie, this has been a an awesome time hanging out with you. Loved your story. Such a blessing. You've blessed my listeners. You've blessed me, and I'm so thankful that we had this opportunity to be together this evening, and just kind of connect and just remind people about the love of God and how He can
Hmm.
move in all situations. I'm so appreciative of that. So, but as is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, before I let you go, we do want to take an opportunity to celebrate you, to love on you, to lift you up. So if you would, if you got anything going on now, coming up down the road, we want to know all about it, all the details, how people can connect, support, continue to follow you along the way. In the weeks and the months and the years to come, and if, like I said, and if nothing else, just to be able to keep you lifted in prayer as you walk in your
Hmm.
purpose and do all of the wonderful things that God has in store for you to do. So tell us, Frankie, what do we need to know that Frankie got going on that we all just need to be getting connected with like right now? What's going on with you?
Well, I would like to share with you that, like I mentioned, I'm a new Christian author, first time author. The Lord had me to write a short Bible study, and I am working on just sharing that with people to help bring this wonderful healing we've been talking about today into the lives of other believers. It was written specifically to encourage other believers in Jesus Christ and to encourage us on our walk. So I would say I would love for you to all to be in prayer, that I could share this short Bible study to the ends of the earth as the Lord leads me.
Well, that's awesome. So if people want to get it, where do they go to get it? What's the best way for them to
The
get a hold of
best
this
way,
Bible study?
I would say the easiest way you can get it is Amazon.com. You know, you can get everything now on Amazon, just about, including Digging Deeper Bible Study by Frankie Cathcart. If you just type that in, you should be able to find it there. And I pray that if you purchase it or someone else, if you get it for someone else, that it would be a blessing to whoever reads it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So again, listeners, she's got her book. It's a Bible study. Again, it's intended to encourage, to inspire, to uplift. Please grab a hold of this. You've seen the woman behind the words. She's just not all talk. She's telling you from a place of experience, from a place of going through the journey of life and understanding, the bumps and the bruises that come along with it, along the way. But at the end, she's still standing strong. She's still standing tall. She's still serving. She's still ministering. She's still living life to the fullest as best as she knows how, but she's not doing it by herself. She's connected with God. She's allowing him to take the lead position and guiding her paths. And so you can't get any better than that. We don't often have the opportunity to hear firsthand from the people who write these respective great works out here. So you're seeing her face, you're seeing her beautiful smile, you're hearing her voice. She's speaking from the heart. She's speaking as a child of God, and you have an opportunity to be blessed or to get this and bless somebody else. So I would definitely encourage you to support her in every step of the way. And I don't know if you have anything else coming up down the road. Whether you do or not, we're looking forward to it because I see speaking opportunities. I see more books. I see workshops. I see all of that. And even if it doesn't exist right now, we just gonna speak it into existence. However God sees fit to guide those steps for you, because I don't believe that you're done yet. I think this is just the beginning of many great works that God has for you, and I'm excited for you. And
Thank you.
and like I said, if nothing more, we want to make sure that we keep you lifted in prayer as God continues to walk you down your path of purpose, and as you stated, being able to bless people all over the world, beyond
Yes.
your wildest imagination. So definitely excited for you about that. Um, and again, to my listeners, if you've enjoyed our broadcast this evening, if you've been blessed by Frankie's story and the conversation that we've had this evening, I do encourage you to subscribe, share, like, comment. Because this again, this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is about.
Mhm.
We want to take these opportunities to just kind of keep it real, strip back all the layers, just keep it raw, if you will, and just let you know that hey, we understand that everybody is going through challenging times and moments in life, especially during these days and times. There's so much crazy stuff going on, but you know,
Mhm.
the one thing that has remained constant through it all is God's presence in our
Yes.
lives. We have a
Mhm.
God who again loves unconditionally, wants nothing but the best for us. Um, you know, and if you're not connected to Him, if you don't know Him, if you're
Mhm.
not giving your life to Him, I'm
Yes.
here to tell you, and I'm sure Frankie would co-sign on this. Is today is a
Mhm.
mighty fine day to make that happen.
Yes.
And I promise you, it'll be the
Mhm.
best decision that you will ever make. We're not
Mhm.
telling you something that we heard. We're telling you something that we know from
Yes.
firsthand experience. Not
Mhm.
because we're perfect,
Mhm.
not because we got it all figured out, not
Right.
because we've always made all the right decisions. Absolutely not. We
Mhm.
have not. But we have a God who is always there for us, always has our back, never
Yes.
leaves us, never forsakes us. Just
Yes.
again, just wants nothing but the best for us, and will help us seek that clarity that we're looking for. If we, for those of you who don't know what your purpose in life is, who don't know the
Yes.
direction that God would have for you, He's a
Mhm.
listening ear with a loving heart and big enough arms to take it all in.
Woo.
As we talked about earlier, nothing is too big for Him, and He's
Yes.
got plenty of fresh start ready
Amen.
for every one of us.
Yes.
So I would definitely encourage you to get on board with that today.
Mhm.
Don't allow another minute to go by without doing so, and just watch God do some magnificent, awesome, and wonderful things in your life and in the lives of others that He connects you with
Amen.
accordingly. So with that
Amen.
said, remember here at
Mhm.
the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey
Mhm.
is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next
Mhm.
time, you keep fighting that good fight. Continue to lean on God, trusting in Him, letting Him guide your steps, be in the head of your life. And again, I promise you, it'll be the best decision that you'll ever make. He wants nothing but the best for you. And you just have so much inside of you that many of you don't even have a clue that He's waiting to just open up and just unleash the
Yes.
blessings, not only for you,
Mhm.
but again, to equip you to be a blessing to so many others. So, with that
Mhm.
said, you take care of yourselves, have a great rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing you next time. All right, all right.